Hi, just a quick Loom video to show you the integration between Cutover and Jenkins. I've got them side by side so you can see it happening in real time. But before I execute them, let me just show you what we're going to do. We've got an integration that we built, which allows us to automatically execute a job or sets of jobs within Jenkins, and we get the real-time response back, whether it passed or failed, and so on. As you can see in my runbook, I've got a number of different jobs on there for different scenarios. For the first job, it's going to complete. And what I'm actually doing, if I go into the actual task itself, go to the Jenkins custom fields, and you'll see I'm executing this job here, and that happens to be that job over there. So it's a real simple way of linking the two things together. The different scenarios I've got is I'm going to execute a job. The first one being it's going to complete within 10 and 20 seconds. I've got a job failure. So we've purposely built a job that will fail. So again, you can see the interaction back into Cutover and how the activities are then worked upon. I've got a job where the actual job doesn't exist, but we've got it in Cutover. So we'll see again what happens in that case. And then finally, I've got a job with parameters. And that's really important, because most of our clients won't just have a flat job that we can execute. They'll have a job with a certain number of parameters that we need to pass from Cutover into Jenkins, and it applies them to the job when it gets executed. So look, best way to do it is let's go and show it to you now in action. So I'm just going to put this into execution. Has to be live. If you run integrations in rehearsal, they effectively get skipped because we don't want to keep running those integrations. So let's put that into live and let's start it off straight away. The Jenkins job is an auto start job, so you can see it running straight away, and you can actually now see it build on the queue. So that's now running. The Jenkins job will finish as a random timer between 10 and 20 seconds. When that finishes, it'll go off the build queue, which you have seen. It's now executing it over here, so it's all been lined up. When that disappears, it will then come back into Cutover and actually tell you. You can see here, Jenkins allows us to tell you what the percentage complete is as well. So on long running jobs, you can actually see it happening. It's not just fire and forget, something's gone on. So that's now completed. It's popped off the queue, and you can now see the job is now been completed, and we've got a tick in the box. Let's go on to the next one. So this is now a failure. So I'm just going to do a milestone just so I can stop it in between. Now we're going to run a job failure. Again, that should pop on the queue. There it is. So it's waiting to be executed. Jenkins will now pass that on to the executor status in a second when it wakes up and picks it up. And again, that job will fail and we'll know what's going on. And again, you can now see straight away that job has failed back into Cutover. Now, at this point, the client can have a number of things they can do. They can go into the job and they can fix it if there's something wrong, and they can hit retry, or they can just skip the job because it's not required anymore, or because they can't fix it, they have to do it offline, or whatever the reason is. But we give them both ways that they can actually manage. So in this case, I'm just going to skip it and I'll write failed. And let's go back to the task list. So let's now do a job where it can't find. So now it's trying to connect to Jenkins. It's looking for a job that doesn't exist. It carries on looking. Once it's iterated through all the jobs, you can see that it says build failed. The script does not exist. So again, you've got a choice now. You can put the script in there, or you can skip it. Again, let's just skip that just to make it easier. And let's run the last one. And the last one now, like I said, is probably the more likely scenario. We're going to have to pass some parameters over to Jenkins, and we're going to do that now. So again, you can see the job has now started. It's going to build and it's going to complete. And when it completes, what it would have done is it would have run it with some parameters. And if I just show you what that means physically, so in the Jenkins one, I'm now going to set a parameter status of successful. And this is just a bit of code that you need to pass on that Jenkins recognizes in the payload. So look, that shows you how it works. It's really simple. It's really nice to see it side by side happening in real time. There are a couple of health warnings on these sorts of things, as always. We're just using really simple authentication just to make it for demo purposes. And as we all know, we will speak to the client about what their authentication is. They're going to be very hot on that. They're not going to give us the keys to the kingdom. They're going to make sure that whoever's executing these is the right person to execute it, because a lot of these jobs can do quite a lot of harm to the infrastructure of our clients. But that's the devil in the detail. That's the bit that we will do through discovery with a client. But the basic integration does work and is relatively simple to implement once we understand the whole authentication process. Hope you found that useful. Any questions, please do reach out to us.